She's going to be talking about the tour that she's always wanted to take to the Panama Canal with her sister and her mother. And without further ado, Debbie Holger.
(1523), 1914, 1999. These are all key dates in the planning and the construction of the Panama Canal. Having just been on my cruise, I thought that I would share a little bit with you the workings of the canal and also a little bit of my experiences about it. Interest in finding a route from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, or vice versa, began as early as 1523, when Emperor Charles V of Spain wanted to find a way to get his ships to and from the oceans faster. Unfortunately, he never did anything about it, but he had the idea already that early. If we fast forward, excuse me, to 1876, the country of Colombia also had the same idea. They even formulated plans of what to do to get the ships from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. But again, they didn't follow through on it. In 1899, Panama revolted from Colombia and claimed their independence. And they too wanted to do something about going from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean. They followed through on it. In 1903, the United States got involved, and the U.S. treaty with Panama guaranteed Panama their independence, that we would help them with their independence, in return for a perpetual lease of the Panama Canal. That's how we entered the picture. The actual construction of the canal began in 1913 and was finished in the 1970s. So from 1970 to 1999, the U.S. ran the Panama Canal. However, on December 31st, 1999, right at midnight, we gave over the control of the canal back to Panama, and they formed the Panama Canal Authority, who to this day runs the Panama Canal. Now, the Panama Canal ranks as one of the greatest engineering feats of all times, and nothing has surpassed it yet. 200 million cubic yards of material were removed from the 50 miles of the canals when they built the canal. Now, if you put all of this 200 million cubic yards of material on flat cars, those flat cars would circle the earth 4 times. That's a lot of material. Not only that, but when they were finished, they had to sanitize the whole area, the whole 50 miles of canal, because of the mosquitoes that had malaria and yellow fever, and they didn't want people getting sick who were going through the canal. It sort of looked bad to Panama. In 1914, the first official ship went through the Panama Canal. And in 1963, they started 24/7 service. In the canal locks, they have two sides, just like a road is. One going to the Pacific Ocean, one going to the Atlantic Ocean, so you can actually have 2 ships at the same time going through the different locks. And that is 24/7 as of this day. Right now, you need a 1-year reservation. A ship needs a 1-year reservation to go through the canal. And the day before the ship goes through the canal, they have to pay the Panama Canal Authority in cash. Now, my cruise ship went from the Atlantic side up through the Gattam Locks to Gattam Lake, where they let off people for short excursions. They went back through the Gattam Locks because we ended up in the same place we started. For the privilege of doing that and going through the Gattam Locks, which is 3 different locks, my cruise ship had to pay $200,000.
Wow.
So it's not inexpensive to go through the canal. I don't know if any of you have ever thought about how the canal works. I was amazed to watch it. There are 3 sets of locks that go from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Gattam Locks is the first set, then the ship cruises through the canals, and then there are 2 other sets of locks, one of them being the Miraflores lock, that then brings you down to the Pacific Ocean. The first set of locks, Gattam Locks, raises a ship from sea level to 85 feet above sea level. And then the ship sails through the canals, and then on the Pacific side is again lowered the 85 feet back to sea level. Every time a ship is in one of the locks, 52 million gallons of fresh water is either put in to raise the ship or flushed out to lower the ship. Being fresh water from the lakes of the canal, that water is flushed to the ocean because they don't want the fresh water to have become contaminated and possibly contaminate the wildlife that is in the lakes themselves. It takes 8 to 10 hours to go through the locks, and you have to have a pilot on your ship. Now I wanted to show you a picture, I don't know if you all can see it. This is the lock that my ship is going into. This ship up here just finished the lock. So you can see how much taller the ship is. Also, when you're going into the locks with the pilot on board, you still use an electric locomotive, anywhere from 2 to 6 locomotives depending on the size of the ship, to help you guide the ship into place. It takes about an hour to guide the ship into the lock, only 10 minutes to fill the lock or to lower the lock. I also decided to take a short excursion of a ferry boat ride. So when our ship got into Gadam Lake, I took a 1-hour bus ride to the Pacific side, and I got on a ferry boat. Now the ferry boat is only 3 decks high. My cruise ship was 11 decks high. So I wanted to experience the difference in the two ships and how they felt in the locks, because in the cruise ship, I could see the water go up and down. I could see myself raised up higher above where the electric locomotive was, but I couldn't really feel it. So when I got into the small ferry boat, I started up here, and when the water went down, I ended up looking up at the locks. And that was very, very effective in showing me how far up I had gone or how far down I had gone. Let's see. I touched the wall, which I couldn't do in the cruise ship. It was just an overwhelming experience. The Panama Canal is an engineering marvel. 3 sets of locks take you 50 miles, 85 feet up in the air, 85 feet down in the air. Or in the water, excuse me, to sea level again. So if you want to experience the Panama Canal yourself, I would highly suggest that you call Carlene when she comes home and book a cruise with her. Thank you very much.
We could have roughly a minute of silence so the evaluators prepare their assessment.